Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Jane and I share my financial journey and lessons and experiences that I learned along the way. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the practical things to think about if you have been informed that you're at risk of redundancy or you're in a position where you think that might be coming down the track. I know it can be a really difficult and emotional time, and it affects not just that individual but the whole sort of partnership. So yeah, I know that it's difficult, it's emotional, it's draining. The consultation can often go on for quite a bit of time, and there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding that, not to mention the financial worry. I think firstly it's important to know your rights. I'm not an employment lawyer, but there is a lot of really good information out there. There is Citizens Advice Bureau, there's ACAS, and their websites are a really good starting place to have a look at exactly where you fit in the picture and what rights you've got. There are specific processes that a company should go through to make sure that they're implementing a fair consultation and redundancy process. So yeah, have a look into that, make sure that you're clued up and know exactly what rights you have. I can talk about this in general terms, and there is a real distinction based on the statutory rights that you've got and your length of service, with 2 years being the really key date, and that applies at the end of your notice period. So before, if you've only been working there a year, 18 months, you've really got limited rights, and you're not even entitled to any redundancy pay, which I know can seem particularly harsh because, you know, if you've given a company a year of your life and worked really hard, that can be really difficult to take. However, you might have a contractual redundancy package, so always have a look at your contract first and foremost, because there may be a different enhancement or process, so have a look there. And even if it's not there, the company that you're working for or the firm might decide to implement their own process, so they might offer redundancy pay to those with less than 2 years service, or go beyond the statutory minimum in terms of rewards. Make sure that you're getting that information first of all to know what your basic rights are, but then look at what your specific rights are, your contract or the process that the company is going through. You'll probably get sent quite a lot of documents and bump, but just read it through, know exactly what's going on and the process, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're part of a trade union as well, get in touch with them because they can offer some advice and support. In the middle of a pandemic, just check coronavirus support that is on offer and whether it applies to your situation. I know that that's really changed throughout, and whether you're self-employed, etc. But another port of call, just to tick that box and make sure that you've explored all those options. The employer has an obligation to make sure that the redundancy is fair. So again, that advice can be really useful in terms of determining that they shouldn't be discriminating against people. And if you've worked for over 2 years, it's got to be genuine and fair. So as I said, the purpose of this video is not to go into the legal specifics, but just to know that there's a set process out there. Have a look at it and make sure that you are clued up on what's going on and what should be going on. The next thing to think about is what other support, practical support, is on offer in terms of finding another job. The Job Centre do a rapid response service, which are specifically aimed at those that are being made redundant. So it's probably worth getting in touch with them to see what's on offer and whether that's a good fit with your specific circumstances. Also, it's worth just pointing out, again, if you've worked for over 2 years and are being made redundant, your employer is obliged to give you some time off for either training or interviews or seeking that alternative employment. That tends to be something that not employers are always aware of, so it's good for you to know that you've got that right and you can have a sort of frank conversation if there are some difficulties in getting that time off. In terms of what you'll be paid as part of your redundancy package, I've already touched on the fact that there are statutory rights and contractual rights, and then specific policies that the employer may choose to put in place. So have a look at what's applicable for you. In terms of statutory rights, the first £30,000 is tax-free, and the way that it's calculated is dependent upon your age and length of service. If you're aged between 21 and 40, for every full year of service, you would receive 1 week's pay, which is subject to certain limits. But again, your contractual redundancy may be higher. Don't forget you will be entitled to your holiday if you've not taken all of that. You might have payments in lieu of notice if your company don't require you to work your notice period, and you should be entitled to any bonuses or commissions that you've built up along the way, so check that as well. In terms of next practical things to think about, you might have your rent or mortgage to pay, so just as a check, have a look at the insurance policies that you may have in place, particularly mortgage protection policies. Just make sure again that you've had a look, you know what you've got in place, and is there anything in there that can cover you. Really, just explore the types of benefits that are available. In some circumstances, you can have help from the government with contributions towards rent and mortgage, so have a look into that as well. One of the most important things then you can have a look at doing is a financial review. If you are made redundant and haven't got another job to go to straight away, it's going to put some real financial pressure on your situation, which is horrible, but hopefully you've got some savings put in place. I think these types of situations really highlight the importance of having an emergency fund. So have a look at your savings. How much have you got? Where are they kept? Are they performing the best for you? And how long have you got to play with in terms of those savings? Secondly, have a look at your budget and your spending. Budget, budget, budget. Now is the most important time. Have a look at where you can really cut down, sort of give notice to those companies that require cancellation. Netflix, Spotify, Audible, Amazon. Can you get rid of those? Look at your TV package, your broadband package, your energy package. Are you making savings? Are you getting the most out of those companies, and where can you cut back? Similarly, have a look at your debts, your credit cards. What rates are you paying? Are you getting the best rates? Now, when you're still employed, have a think about applying for a 0% balance transfer or interest-free credit card to make sure that you're paying the least possible. Think about and crunch some numbers whether it is worth you using some of your savings to pay off the high interest debt. Look at consolidating your debts into a lower interest loan, but again, that's going to be circumstance dependent. Crunch some numbers, take some advice where you need to, but have a think about those options. Also worth inquiring, particularly during the pandemic, I know that a lot of lenders have been really good, but in terms of getting a mortgage holiday, don't know if that's still available at the moment, but if you've been paying things like overpayments, in some circumstances your lender will allow you to stop your monthly payments and use that overpayment pot that you've built up to satisfy the monthly payments for a little while, so that's something to explore. Similarly, if you've got a landlord, speak to them, highlight the situation and see if there's anything that can be done around your rent. Next, think about a skills review. If you're going to be applying for jobs, it might be in some time since you've done that. Look at your CV, dig that out, get it up to date, put all your most recent experience. If you've now changed from perhaps you've been a graduate and you had your education at the top, now think about flipping that. If you've got some experiences and you've built up some key skills in a certain role, think about those and tailor your CV to the specific job that you're applying for. I know that it can be tempting when you just want to apply to as many things as possible, but really think about tailoring it, increasing your success at getting an interview for that particular role, particularly in times at the moment where we know the job market is difficult. There's a lot of competition for roles, so you really want to make sure that your application is standing out as much as possible and for the right reasons. I know it can be difficult, particularly when you're under this pressure, but is this the moment that you've been waiting for? Have you been thinking about making that career change, or going back to university, or learning that new skill, or doing something? Is this giving you the opportunity? I know that it might not be possible due to finances, and maybe you have to be doing sort of another role to supplement that. But just take a step back and think, can you really see the silver lining here? Is this the chance, and is this the opportunity that perhaps you've been waiting for, and can you make that jump now? And think about what you would need to put in place to make that happen. Have a discussion with your partner, your friends, your family about what that might look like. And I know easier said than done, but perhaps this is what you've been waiting for. So that's it really. I think the important message is know your rights, get some advice, have a real look at your financial situation, your savings, your spending, your debt, and have a frank conversation with yourself about what the position is and what you need to change and what you can change to ease the pressure in the next couple of months. I think really the last thing that I want to say is that acknowledge that this is a difficult time. It's okay not to be okay. This is a really tricky situation. There's lots of pressure, emotion, and it can be particularly difficult if sort of colleagues that perhaps were friends are staying on and you're not. I know that it's hard, but there is advice out there, and don't be afraid to reach out for support to those that will be there for you if you can, and discuss your situation. It's a horrible time. If you've recently gone through this process and have any advice, please let me know, or if there's a particularly charity or support service that others might find useful, please do highlight that. And thank you for watching, and best of luck. Things will get better.